again, everybody. Back again. You might notice there's quite a lot of things different this time. So the main thing is that I'm in a different place. As you can probably tell, it's a different setup to any other video I've done. I'm actually in London for 2 weeks. I'm staying with one of my old university housemates, and she's been kind enough to let me stay while I'm in London because London is expensive. I'm here for some work experience at a publisher, so that's exciting. But there are some downsides because the flat is lovely and massive and it's all big open spaces and hardwood floors, which is great for living in, terrible for recording videos. So I apologise for the echo, but fingers crossed it won't be too bad and won't put you guys off from watching these next couple of videos I'm going to do. So like I said, I'm in London and I've actually been to London quite a few times now. So I've done a lot of the touristy stuff like go and see the Houses of Parliament and go to loads of the museums and stuff. So this time I thought, right, what can I do that's a little bit different? So I had a bit of a Google, as you do, and one of the things that kept coming up was the amount of second-hand bookshops in London, especially kind of around Covent Garden, Leicester Square. Now, I'm usually one for pristine, brand new, immaculate-looking books, which I can keep nice and, keep on the shelf looking good. But I thought, right, I'm in London, there's a whole road, Charing Cross Road, with like 7 or 8 second-hand bookshops on. I've got a free day. Let's go and do it. Let's go and see what we can find, what bargains we can find. I can find any amazing old editions, any little gems that I'd never normally buy that I'm going to have a look at. So today, I'm here to tell you about my second-hand bookshop book haul. So I've not actually done any book haul videos on the channel before because actually in the past couple of months especially, a lot of the stuff I've been reading is things I've owned for a while. I've not actually bought many books in the past few months since I started this channel. This is actually the biggest splurge I've had since then. But I'm going to show you what I bought this time and I hope you like it. And if you do, I'll make sure to do more book haul videos once I start buying again in the next couple of months. In the end, I did only actually buy 5 books from all the second-hand bookshops I went to. And in fact, they're all actually from one shop. I found a few other things I was interested in, but I've always found if I buy kind of 9 or 10 books at a time, I always end up leaving 4 or 5 of them that I never get around to reading. But I think 5 is a really achievable amount, and I'm really happy with what I've bought. It's this motley crew of books. It's an eclectic mix. I'll go through them all individually in a minute. And yeah, it's a little bit weird, but I'm actually really excited about reading all of them. So I'll just walk you through them now. Let's go from little to large. So the smallest book I bought is actually this. So I saw this and thought, right, not many people are going to want to buy this, but actually I think I can get something from this. So it's Beginning in Bookselling by Irene Babbage. So I'd never heard of this book before, didn't know this kind of thing existed, but essentially it's a book originally published in 1965, and I think this is a 1972 reissue, about how to be a bookseller. So obviously, if any of you don't know, I'm a bookseller myself, and the main reason I want to read this is because it cost me £1, can't go wrong, and because I'm intrigued to do a comparison with what bookselling was like, 40 years ago, versus what it's like now. So I've actually read about half of this and made a few notes, and I'm probably going to do a video on the differences between this and modern day bookselling because it's fascinating, it's really interesting, and it's actually more interesting to find how much stuff is the same. So that's more of a little bit of a quirky pick-up book rather than something I'm going to seriously read, but it's actually going to be really fascinating to see, and like I say, I'll be back with another video in the not too distant future talking about that. So with regards to the second book I bought, I need to give a bit of context first so you don't all think I'm a weirdo. I've always had a bit of a fascination with conspiracy theories. Now that's not because I believe conspiracy theories are true, or because I believe the world's run by lizards or anything like that. It's because I think the stories that people make up as conspiracy theories are absolutely fascinating. So I think some of the explanations for things that are unexplainable or don't seem to quite fit, there's always a realistic, sensible answer, but I think it's fascinating to hear what stories people make up about it. And in that vein, I bought this, Secrets of the Knights Templar. So the Knights Templar obviously are a focal point in Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. And since then, I've always been intrigued to see how much of what Dan Brown's written is actually anything related to fact. I've studied bits of the Knights Templar in my degree, so bits of their historical role and battles they were involved in, etc. But I'm intrigued to see what Dan Brown based his book on. Obviously, I know it's fiction, but I'm intrigued to see where the roots of his ideas have come from, and that's why I'm looking forward to reading this. Again, it's only another couple of quid, and I thought, why not? I'll probably enjoy it quite a lot, and it'll be quite interesting to read. So the third book that I bought is actually very different to anything I would normally buy, but when I went into secondhand bookshops, one of my main thoughts was, let's look for unusual stuff that I wouldn't normally buy, that I wouldn't normally read, and see what it's like. And this is one of them. Julian Barnes, A History of the World in 10.5 chapters. So there are a few things that drew me to this. Obviously, the name Julian Barnes is quite a well-known one. And it's just an interesting topic, it's an interesting cover, and having read the back, I think it sounds fascinating. It's essentially 10.5 chapters, surprisingly, of kind of revisionist, tongue-in-cheek history and those types of things. So the first chapter is from the perspective of an unnamed resident of Noah's Ark. There's a chapter that explores the concept of heaven. There's a chapter about the Titanic. It's just a really random, eclectic mix from all over the world, all aspects of life. And I like episodic books where I can read kind of one or a half chapter at a time. And I'm really excited that this is something new and different I wouldn't normally pick up, and this is the joy of secondhand bookshops for me. And I'm really excited to give that a read and see what I think about it. So the fourth book that I bought is, again, quite unusual. It's not a narrative type of book, which is the main thing I buy. In fact, it's actually infographica, the world that you've never seen it before. So basically, it's a collection of infographics, such as, this type of thing, about a whole variety of different topics. But I like this kind of visual, slightly quirkier style of book. And this is one I've actually looked at a few times at work and just never got around to. But I found it in a second-hand bookshop. Pretty immaculate condition. It was like £2.50 instead of £10 normally. So I thought, right, why not? It's a kind of quirky, interesting book that I quite like just having to flick through when I don't want to read necessarily. And I had a little bit of a look through and it is really fascinating. Actually, one of the pages was about tallest religious statues in the world, and I then spent an hour online looking up these religious statues and what they look like and those kind of things. So I think it's going to be one of those that really leads me further in, and I've really enjoyed it so far, and I'm glad it's one I picked up because it's not the kind of thing I would normally, but I know I'm going to enjoy it. The fifth book I bought is actually a hardback, which surprises me because I normally detest hardbacks, but this hasn't got a slipcase, which I think makes a difference. It's Player One by Douglas Coupland. So this is actually an author I've looked at for a while now. One of my colleagues at work's recommended some of his stuff, and I've always kept an eye out. And in fact, when I went into secondhand bookshops, it was kind of his books that I was looking for specifically at some points, and I found this. So I'll be honest, what drew me in was the title, Player One, because it sounds like video games, and I like video games. The book itself isn't actually video game related, but I still think it sounds fascinating. The basic concept is, it's a real-time 5-hour story set in an airport cocktail lounge during a global disaster. So it's quite an interesting concept. I like real-time fiction or television or films. I have a real thing for that, 24, for example. And I like kind of isolationist and vaguely apocalyptic fiction too. So this works really well for that. It's going to be quite an in-depth character study, but it's not too long. And I'm really intrigued to give that a read. Like I say, it's an author I've heard a lot about, been looking forward to reading for a while. And I think this is the perfect one. It was like fate when I saw this in the shop. I was like, I know I need to buy this. It cost me, I think it was a £5 for a hardback, which was originally 17 quid. And it's probably quite a rare hardback now, so I'm really excited to have got this. And I'm looking forward to reading that, and I'll let you know what I think. So there you've got it, my first book haul, and an unusual one, that they're all second-hand books. They're all in good quality, which makes me really happy, but they were also like insanely cheap, so I can't complain in any way. It's really opened my eyes to what second-hand bookshops can be, and I know that periodically I'll pop in now and see what's new, because I found some gems in there I never thought I'd find, and I'm really happy and excited to read them all. I'm going to add them into my TBRs. I'm going to try and get through a couple in February because I'm actually rattling through what I was meant to be reading, and I'll let you know what I think about them all when I get there. If any of you have enjoyed second-hand bookshops, got any gems you've found, any first editions, for example, let me know down below because I'm really intrigued to start looking at second-hand bookshops more and more. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I've got loads of stuff coming in the next week or so. Quite often it's going to be daily, which is rare for me, but I'm really looking forward to doing that. I've got loads of stuff to talk about. Otherwise, my GoodReads and Twitter in the description down below, and I'll see you in the next couple of days with probably my video about book selling in the 1970s versus now. So I look forward to seeing you then, and I hope you have a good. So as always, my Twitter and GoodReads are in the description down below. Add me, follow me, click all the buttons, and I will see you in the not too distant future with my next video.